Hey, so it's been a bit. At this point, 19 days, and it's time I address the situation. I took 2 days off after I got back to settle back in, but it is time that I make a video going over what happened. Now, I believe in transparency with my viewers, with anyone who's a fan, or even just a random passerby who watched that video. Whether you're subscribed or not doesn't matter. What matters is if you've seen that video, or even if it popped up in your recommended or something like that, and you decided not to see it. So, what happened? That video was one of me overdosing. And I can assure you right now, that was not fake. It was legitimate. Now, why did I overdose, especially on video? As many of you know, I have struggled with depression for a decade at least at this point. Life has been a lot of struggles off and on. I've made it through a lot. And there have been many times where I've wanted to give up, and multiple times where I've made the decision to give up. This was one of those decisions. I took those pills in an attempt to take my own life. And very shortly after, like not even 20 minutes, there were some firemen at my door because they are the first responders in my city. And they checked on me, tried to see how my vitals were when I was in the ambulance car. So I had to go to the hospital, ICU for the night, and then the next morning I was in a behavioral health unit. Until that same day, like 2 hours in when I was at the behavioral health unit, I ended up having a seizure after I had already fallen asleep. And apparently, according to the nurses and my mother, I had started hallucinating real bad. I had taken the IV, like ripped the IV out of my arm multiple times, ripped off the EKG pads and all that. So I was in the ICU for 9 days. Or wait, I was there for a total of 17 days and yeah, it was 9 days. And then after those 9 days, I spent 8 in a behavioral health unit at that same hospital. Which I will go over how that specific hospital did, my complaints with how they ran everything, and the information being communicated last minute. I will go over all that in a different video. Right now, it's just me talking to you guys one-on-one, YouTuber to viewer, about this attempt, what happened, and now that I am back, like I said, it is time to address it now that I've had the time to come back down, so to speak. And so, the big question is why? And why to two specific things. One, why did I make the attempt? And two, why did I decide to record it? And I'm going to answer them in reverse order. The reason why I decided to record it is because I know that my uploading schedule is very inconsistent, but that doesn't change the fact that there are people who do legitimately watch my videos and they do get concerned if I'm off my one a month or one every couple months schedule. If it was like 8 months without uploading, there would be some concern because normally I'd have at least one out every at least 2 months or so. And there are some people who I don't get to speak too much who watch those videos to try to like check in when they don't have the option to contact me to see if I'm alive. And I knew that that would kind of set aside to them that that is the reason that I was not uploading anymore, because that overdose would have killed me. And I felt that it was better to let my audience know why I would be gone forever than leave them in the dark about it if they weren't in a local proximity to where it would be on the news. And as for why I made the attempt, a lot of it was grief from my late teacher's death that happened. I think at this point it was about 5 weeks back. And it, for me, with grief, it never hits hardest immediately. It will hit immediately, and then I will break down for about half an hour to 2 hours. Then I am back on my feet, and it starts to build back up until I do something drastic and go too far. And that is what happened this time. Of course, there is more to it than just the grief, but the grief is a big reason to it. A lot of the other reason comes down to the fact that my mental health at that point was already a bit shot without the grief. And a lot of the reason for that just comes down to I wasn't being as active as I had been like throughout summer and fall, because it was still not really good enough weather for me to get outside, start walking again like I used to at least once a week. And I was cooped up inside a lot. A lot of my friends that I had talked to suddenly just stopped being active, even though I know that thankfully they are alive. And I it's a bit of a confusing situation when I'm about to explain, because I am really antisocial most of the time, especially in public at the very least. Unless I am around someone who I know, I will just constantly stick to myself, not say a word, because I don't want to start or risk anything. I am always paranoid. That's how it's always been and always will be when it comes to starting any sort of conversation. Unless I am around someone who I know and most of the time I am close to. In that case, you cannot get me to shut the fuck up. But yeah, and communication with loved ones and friends has always been one of the big things that was keeping me going. So, not being able to do so, since a lot of them weren't online nearly as much, had definitely began to affect me, because I am at my worst when I'm in my own head. And at that point, I had been in my own head for multiple weeks. So I had, it was the grief and all those things just culminating into one huge fuck fest in my head that led to me deciding that the world would be better off if I was gone. and that it may hurt at first, but eventually everyone would come to realize that they never should have cared about me in the first place. And now that I am back, I I'm still not taking medicine anymore. Like, other than I know I had the relapse with the overdose, but that is the one time, one single event out of the rest of that year that I was no meds was one of the best of my life, and I only had that one relapse. So I feel it is better to continue not taking any medicine and just moving on, trying to improve it myself, working on myself, like, especially with losing weight, because I've already, and the days that I was at the hospital to now, I've dropped from 218 to 205.19. That is almost 13 pounds, which is something that I am proud of. And by the end of the next few months, I definitely want to be down to under 200, because weight has always been a big part of why my self image is really poor. But now that I am back, like I said, not on pills. I My mother, when I was gone, the fucking amazing person she is, just seriously, I had the fucking best mother out there, and I almost took her son from her. But she, when I was gone, she got all my shit cleaned up around my house. She didn't have to do any of that, but she did. She, and the big thing is, all the excess pills that I was prescribed multiple years back that I had not taken because I decided to stop medicating, she decided to take those and throw them in the dumpster. Not the trash in my house, because I would still be able to dig them out, but in the dumpster. And that is something that I knew, or I was told that she would do, because I told the doctors when I was in the intensive care unit that that's what I was going to do as soon as I got home, throw all those pills in the dumpster and not my own trash. So there was no temptation if anything like that happened again. So they communicated that to my mother, and my mother threw them in the dumpster like I was going to. But anyway, what am I going to do going forward? Well, to be honest, I am not sure. I have an appointment with a therapist that I'm going to reschedule as soon as I get my new work schedule out, but right now, my biggest priority is still work. Yes, I know my mental health is more important, but if I'm not able to provide for myself, then my mental health is going to be shot anyway. If I'm not able to provide for myself, I'm going to feel like shit no matter what. So I gotta take care of my own job before I take care of my mental health. And that's just how it is. That's just, I have to deal with it that way. Especially when I'm already late on rent, that has to be my primary focus. So, what about YouTube from here? What about any socials? Now, I'm going to keep posting as irregularly, as irregularly as I do, but the style of videos is going to be a bit more inconsistent. Now, I know that I've done like uh what's it called? Not team reviews, but I don't remember what it's called, but I made videos like going over teams that I made for competitive Pokemon. I've done like, I know I need to get back to the visual novels. I've done just personal shit. And right now, one of the big things that I'm working on is a video essay about Kung Fu Panda 2 and why it is not only my favorite DreamWorks movie, but in my top 3 favorite movies of all time. So that is my big project right now, and it may take multiple years with how much I overthink shit and try to make it as perfect as possible to come out. But eventually, if it hits a quality that I am pleased with, I will release it once I am finished, of course. Other than that, I may start uploading some Nuzlocke videos. I may start doing some gameplay videos if I can get like a Switch capture card or something. I'm not sure about Twitch because that's the main thing I use for content other than YouTube. I may stream more, I may not. At this point, I am not sure. But I will try to get back into YouTube, even though it's not going to be a regular upload schedule, because I have work. I pay $580 a month rent on minimum wage living by myself, so I don't have anyone to split it with. So, my priority is work, of course. I gotta make my money. That's just how it is. So, in my free time, I may pump out a video here and there, like I've been doing ever since I moved out and into my own place. But whenever that happens is when it happens. I have no clue when it will be or what it will be. But I can assure you that I will get back into YouTube. As for now, I just wanted to address the situation and let you all know that I am okay. I am alive. I am back. And there's nothing that I can use in my own house to harm myself. The only things that would be possible are kitchenware, which I don't use most of the time anyway because I never really end up needing my knives. And then pepper spray and a pocket knife, which are both for self-defense in case someone tries to break into my house. Other than that, there's nothing. So I can assure you guys, nothing will happen again soon. And I will be okay. I apologize for the, I guess, more serious tone of this video, because a lot of my videos are more playful, energetic, and chaotic in tone. But like I said earlier, I feel that transparency is the best way to get this message through. And you can't expect transparency to be taken seriously if you don't deliver it in a serious tone. So, thank you guys for watching. I am so sorry about everything that happened, about worrying all of you. Thank you for sticking with me. And I'll see you whenever I next upload.